Hey guys, today we'll be talking about tier, I guess. So today I'll just go over all of the options you have against tier and just general options for you to consider. So of course, Ghost Bell, obviously worth consideration. Ash Blossom and Joy Spring, this is okay because they need to send by effect something from either like their hand or deck to the graveyard, and this will also stop kitkalos effect here to send top 5. So that will also allow you to stop like Killbeck, so it kind of depends, but Ash Blossom can potentially stop a turn. Depends how crazy your opponent opens, of course, but for just in general, going first and second options, of course. DD Crow is good. Ash Blossom and Joy Spring is good. Ghost Bell and Haunted Mansion is good. Ghost Mourner and Moonlit Chill is good. So all of these things have, well, one thing in common mostly, and Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries, almost forgot to mention this. But Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries is less applicable than everything else here, including Gamma, I'd say. Well, actually, Gamma kind of depends. Gamma's just useful because Gamma, I guess. So you'd have to control a monster, likely, whenever they activate Havness. So Gamma doesn't pop off against Havness or Kelbeck, but Gamma's just a useful card in general. So it's good going second against tier, but not so much going first against tier because of Killbeck and Havness effects. So the primary two effects to look out for are, well, the Killbeck and Havness effects. So when your opponent activates a monster effect on the field, quick effect, you can special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard. And if they mill, of course, any tier elements card, they can summon kitkalos and go kind of like full combo, I guess. So you can DD Crow banish the monster they milled, like whatever it is. And then you also have the option to, of course, Ghost Spell it. So it just sits in the graveyard all sad-like and does nothing. Well, that would be the hope, I guess, assuming it just mills a single tier, I guess, or something like that. And then there's Ghost Mourner and Moonlit Chill, which can just simply negate the kitkalos on its special summon, which will work even if they can chain block kitkalos for some reason. You can Ghost Mourner it. And then there's, of course, Dimension Shifter, which will banish all cards sent to the graveyard instead. And Dimension Shifter isn't like as useful for like some decks, so some decks just can't run Dimension Shifter, so it is what it is. Infinite Impermanence as well won't do too hot against like a Killbeck or a Havness if your opponent happens to have one of those options to use against you. So that kind of sucks. And also, if your opponent does summon the Havness, and for whatever reason the Havness does not resolve, like maybe you decide you want to actually Ghost Mourner the Havness, then it's kind of annoying because if Havness is sent to the graveyard by card effect, that will trigger the fusion summon effect still. And unlike Thunder Dragons, you can use each effect and not just one effect of their cards per turn, so that's actually kind of annoying. You would need some kind of non-graveyard removal, I guess. But what's good with Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries is their combo does generally use kitkalos a lot, and if you just get rid of their kitkalos, you have a good chance of just being able to shut down their turn, or just shut them down from playing altogether, because they need kitkalos to make a rule kalos, unless they specifically happen to mill like Swamp King, which is fine. But the other option I mostly want to talk about here is Ibli, because with Ibli, you can just normal summon Ibli, and then you can link off the Ibli, and then now that turns off your opponent's, turns off their imperms, it turns off their Kelbeck, and it turns off Havness because they can no longer special summon aside from link monsters, and also floodgate them on their turn, the next turn. So for a going first option, if you can work in Ibli, it's worth consideration just because of that. And of course, this in general affects a bunch of different decks and forces them to play their hand unoptimally, simply put. So then there's also the option of maybe if you could search Black Garden, you can just keep summoning tokens to your opponent's field, and then they just can't link them off. Because I've seen like some extra decks and none of them use IP Masquerena. They might have like a Nightmare Unicorn or something like that, but if they have 5 tokens with the same name, they can't link them off. I believe Access Code can't link them off either because Access Code requires effect monsters. Let us check. Access Code requires 2+ effect monsters, which the tokens are not. Yeah, so if you were to swamp them with tokens, they can't play the game and you can kind of do as you want. The only thing they'll be able to do is set some back row. And tier back row doesn't do anything if they don't control a tier, so you'll probably pop off, I guess. So Called By is good as always. Of course, going second, Droplet, Forbidden Droplet, Dark Ruler no more. Still pretty solid options. No issue with Dark Ruler no more, or Droplet. We're going second, and in fact Forbidden Droplet is arguably better because this works going first as well if they start trying to play on your turn. It's not the best, but it is what it is, I guess. Of course, also worth mentioning is Triple Tactics. Triple Tactics talent, if your opponent starts trying to play on your turn, you can draw 2 cards, take control of 1 monster your opponent controls until the end phase. That one, not so much, I guess. It's probably one of these 2 effects, but take control is not bad if you like take control of Yugioh and then like link it off or something like that. So then it doesn't come back. So Triple Tactics, not bad. Let's throw in a few copies in here. Okay. So then, of course, these shuffle back, like tearlaments shuffle back for effect, so and not cost. So that's also like part of their fusion summon. So if you crow a tier, they'll stop the fusion summon of kitkalos, of course. And then I guess, yeah, Dimensional Fissure, Macrocosmos, Floodgates, like there can be only one. Those will do well as well, but also worth consideration is a Hero Lives, actually, because if we go ahead and think about, like, in terms of Havness, at least, not necessarily Kelbeck, and the fact that Dark Law just beats their deck if they have no out for the Dark Law. So what you can do is you can a Hero Lives, and a Hero Lives has no hard ones per turn. So if, for example, they have an Ash Blossom and they lost the Hero Lives, you can Hero Lives again if you open a second copy, which is reasonable enough if you're playing 40 cards. It can happen. So anyways, then we can just splash this in as a small engine. Better if you can run Malicious, I guess, but we can go ahead and then search Shadow Mist, and then we can go Shadow Mist, and then we can do a search, and we can search Mass Change, and then we can go ahead and Mass Change the Shadow Mist for a copy of Dark Law. So the idea here is that if your opponent has Haveness, here's how the chain should resolve. So we go Shadow Mist, get special summoned, activate Shadow Mist effect, and then Haveness effect might get chained, which is alright, whatever. And then we go ahead and activate our Mass Change after we search it with the Shadow Mist. And of course, if they respond to our copy of Shadow Mist with their Haveness, that actually chain blocks our Shadow Mist for us if our opponents are goofy like that. So anyways, whenever they summon their copy of kitkalos, we'll have summoned our copy of Dark Law. But if they wait any longer to do it, I guess, then I guess they're done for, because then they're just basically under Macrocosmos one-sided. And since it's one-sided, you don't have to worry about being able to play under Macrocosmos or not, which is nice. So then, this kind of package works nicely as well with Malicious, of course, if you can run Malicious. Because, let's say we happen to open Mass Change, for example, and we have a hero lives, no problem. A hero lives, summon Shadow Mist, same way. We just don't mass change, we don't add Mass Change. And then, I guess they can't chain Haveness this time around, and then we can just Mass Change our copy of Shadow Mist for Dark Law and add Malicious off of our Shadow Mist. And then we're also doing pretty well in this scenario. With our opponent being under straight up Macrocosmos, they need a way to out Dark Law, which if they do not have one, they should lose the game on the spot if our opponent is playing Ishizu tier. And of course we don't end on just a Dark Law, because the good thing about a hero lives is that it special summons, so you don't have to commit your normal summon to this. So then you can just summon Shadow Mist, of course, and then kind of pop off, I guess. And you still have 4 cards in hand after activating a hero lives. So this is definitely worth looking into as an option. And of course, like, just back row like Skill Drain and Tikaboo is generally useful if you just set and flip these. These can kind of outboard, so not entirely bad, but in terms of removal, you're looking at mostly just like stuff that doesn't like send or destroy. Like send to the graveyard or destroy are not good forms of removal, because for example with kitkalos, this will allow your opponent to mill. If you like destroy Haveness with an effect, then that'll trigger the effect to special summon a fusion monster here. So that's not ideal, of course. And then like for example, even if you Zeus their field, you'd have to do it like twice, because your opponent has a Rule Kalos. Rule Kalos' effect is other Aqua monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle. You can only use each of the following effects of Rule Kalos once per turn. When your opponent activates a card or effect that includes an effect that special summons on monsters. Monsters, quick effect, you negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. Then you send a tearlaments card from your hand or face a field to the graveyard. And if this fusion summon card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can special summon this card. Which is pretty annoying, because this just does a lot. It makes it kind of, well, hard for you to do anything against this Rule Kalos. Your best bet is inherent summons, I guess, against this, but you'll probably get, I don't know, like, hit by a monster negate as well by the, let's see. Is it not a Predator? Or am I crazy? Oh wait, there it is. Predoplant Dragostapelia, which will change your monster's level to 1 and negate effects of your opponent's monsters that have predator counters. So that's a bit annoying on many different levels, I suppose. So yeah, generally these are some cards to be looking at, and Maxi might fall out of favor somehow. Potentially. Depends. I don't know if it will. It depends how the metagame develops, I guess, but Maxi actually is not, like, super great because they can special summon kitkalos, and if you activate Maxi, they can stop on kitkalos, and then add Havness is what people are saying. But then, that's just whatever, right? Is it? Yeah. You can probably still use Maxi fine. Just don't let Maxi rip. You probably have to wait for kitkalos summon, and then let's say they send, they'll have to commit, and then you'll probably get some draws off of Maxi actually. So Maxi, not bad. You can still at least +2 probably, which is still fine. I don't think you're plussing enough off of Maxi against tier, honestly, so maybe Maxi is not the play. Well, whatever. Having the option to kitkalos, just add Havness and pass, so you only draw 1 and it's basically an upstart. It's pretty obnoxious, and then they can start playing again on your turn, which is not necessarily the best for you, I guess. They still have to mill something decent, I guess, off of the Havness if they go for that line of play. Or I guess they can steal, like, one of the tier cards. Like, for example, they can, let's see. Actually, this just adds a tier element card, right? Oh yeah, it's a card. So you can just add pearlerino and then add Havness. And then that's like mill. It just mills a little bit, right? Yeah. Well, I mean, either way, they have some line of play against Maxi, so definitely have to consider that and be worried a little bit about this at least. So this is what I've got for you guys today, and well, that's all I've got for you guys today, and I'll see you guys in the next video. And I thought I had something else to say, but no, that's it. Bye, guys.